Hey, RetconRaider here, with special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Matthew Smith, Revenant, Alois, Anerdinwarpaint, Dragon Matrix 7, Eerie V23, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, Kazorm, Nathan Welch Jr., RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. As today we find ourselves faced with a mystery. Well, not much of one, I suppose. We've already basically figured it out. The only thing left to do at this point is to gather a bit more intel and then go confront Marhavok and or the Lady of the Sun. So we'll poke around the rest of the village, gather whatever intel and clues we can, and then, I guess, brainstorm with Gizmera. See where we go from there. Let's get to it.
I sense something.
How strange. This stone is supposed to detect demons nearby, but I'm right here and it's silent. This runestone is a fake. It has no power to detect demons. Yeah, that sounds about right. Gizmera mentioned there were 3 runestones. Let's see if we can track down the other 2. My husband killed all these monsters. Every single one. And you were the one who told me to marry a potter. A potter? I feel like that would be unsanitary no matter what those were. Rely on your own strength, on your cunning, on your true arrow, on your sharp blade, on the aid of the spirits, on the vows of priests. But never rely on divination. I feel like spirits and priests would be your primary source of divinations. Unless we're talking about amateur divination, I guess. Or wizards, that's fair. This runestone was smashed, and the pieces carefully hidden. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the runestone in front of Marhavok's house wasn't replaced with a fake, and that he apparently never noticed that it was missing and or destroyed, even though he clearly has a sitting area set up for himself over here, right above the other fake runestone. Though, to be fair, the bottles do imply heavy drinking. Reeking Heart of Arcane. That is quite a name. +4 Rapier. Whenever under any magical effect that grants an enhancement bonus, this bonus is increased by +1. Which isn't bad. Pretty much made for characters like Cam, which in this case would boost it to +5. The main drawback being that it would require using Cam. Hush-a-bye, baby, drift off to sleep. When you're big and strong, you'll make demons weep. Really? I mean, I guess that's not entirely beyond the realms of possibility. Oh, just wait till your mama gets back, you little menace. I'm a neighborly woman, but you sure are a restless little thing. Who's there? A monster? Stay away from the child, you beast! Yeah, I'm moving. And yet another fake runestone. That's 3 of 3. And notice that they only bothered replacing the ones that would be in areas where other villagers would actually see them. The one right next to Marhavok's Hall was much more blatantly destroyed.
Trivial.
Wind uproots a single tree, but dies down in a thicket. Stand shoulder to shoulder with your clansmen like trees in a forest. Really felt like they were setting up for a rhyme there. Also, I apparently missed something. Where is that? What do you want with blind Gizmera, stranger? Yeah, I checked out that anti-demon alarm system you guys have rigged up, and is that thing normally made of paper mache? Just feels like there's some room for improvement there. So demons truly can roam here, and no one even suspected because we had faith in the stone's warning, and in the Lady of the Sun's protection. The only thing we can do is go to Marhavok and demand answers. I want to believe that he has been deceived and will act on behalf of his clan when you show him your proof of the betrayal. And the destruction of the runestones is a true betrayal of our clan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just going to try to kill us, but... Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to kill us. So I wouldn't hold your breath. We good? Okay, I think we're good. But I may have to hit the pause button if that keeps up. I actually don't mind getting, like, rain and thunder sounds in the mix. The problem is, once I actually do the post-processing, it tends to strip a lot of it out, and it sounds weird.
This is my kind of work.
Okay, so that covers the entire village. We could poke around off to the left, but I'm not sure there's anything else we'd find outside that would necessarily help us here. Otherwise, Gizmera would have presumably pitched poking around the surrounding area. So let's go have words with Marhavok. See how this goes. And given that we are almost certainly up for a fight here, let's get some last-minute buffs up.
Who, me? The world's not ending just yet.
Oh, and before I forget, communal cold resist for the dragon. And remove fear for the dragon aura. The mighty Marhavok sits on a dais covered in pelts. In one enormous hand he is holding a single flower. and his face wears a grim expression. Chief, we brought the traitor. A tall female warrior drags a stumbling woman with empty eye sockets into the hall. We have several witnesses who say she was slandering the Lady of the Sun and her guests, and that she even urged her neighbors to spy on them. Hand me my axe. Marhavok's voice is grim. I have been very patient with you, Gesmera. You dared to dishonor the Lady of the Sun, our happiness and protection. You didn't repent. You only nursed your malice in secret. I see now that taking your eyes was not enough. This time, I will take your hands. What are you doing here, you blackguard? Raising your hand against innocents? You've earned the Ancestors' wrath for sure. It's a bad thing to raise your fists against the clan elder, but I really want to smack you one. You tell him, Finian. These nice people are afraid. So much fear. But they're not fighting against the ones who frightened them. They're punishing the weak and defenseless for their fear. Just like always. Just like always. Just like always. Her voice drops to a barely discernible whisper. Hands off her, Marhavok. No, wait, she's clearly the only one here who's not blind to what's really going on in Wintersun. He's not lying. Our talismans have been destroyed and can no longer warn us about demons. The smashed pieces were hidden in the walls of our settlement, and replicas that have no magical properties were put in their place. My chief, open your eyes. Can't you see what's going on under your own roof? This is a serious accusation, Chief. Permit us to investigate. We'll return shortly, and if this mad woman is lying, your punishment will be doubly justified. When Marhavok gives his nod of assent, the warrior strides out of the hall. You feel the weight of Marhavok's gaze on you. So, you succeeded in luring my guards away. But it won't change anything. No, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. It's good you came. Saves me from chasing after you around all of Wintersun. Here in this hall is a place of power for me and my lady. I will kill you here, and then go with my people to Dresden and hand it over to its rightful masters. Warriors of Wintersun, attack! Well, I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, am utterly shocked by this twist. That said, to be completely fair, I don't think Marhavok ever really thought this through far enough to have to try to sustain it in front of actual visitors. I think the general expectation would be that any non-demon who visited Wintersun would be killed well before this point. I guess the real question is whether he's doing this at the behest of the Lady of the Sun, or he just thinks this is what she wants. That sets us up for a possible slumber. Which means we need to keep people off Ember. Get out of here.
Retreat is not an option.
Let's see if we can maybe trim down those buffs on Marhavok. Okay, I'll take that. No more 20% concealment.
Cover me, all right?
Yeah, it's gonna take a minute to get through that stone skin. Personal space, please. Wow, alright. Ember? And there we go. And go for the coup. That's Marhavok.
Stab you or zap you? Why not both? Can't you just die already?
Nice, nice. My lady, don't leave me. Don't leave me. So, we all just watched that happen? That's cool. Wow, so that fight went way easier than I was expecting it to, especially in the wake of Morveg and that Darachne. But, you know, we did luck out on a lot of those rolls there. Thank goodness Waljif was so unusually adept at self-reflection. Otherwise, that could have gone a whole lot worse. Hey, Gizmera, you made it. I see what others cannot discern. I know what others cannot learn. My hand is guided by the skill of centuries. My soul I guard against fetters. I hate that these Hallett words of wisdom keep setting up for rhymes and then don't deliver.
Pretty good, aren't I?
Bracers of Dominance. Sounds about right. On crit with a two-handed weapon, the enemy must pass a will save 24 or become unable to attack for 1 round. Well, that's not bad at all. Respectable will save, too. Huh. So that would either go on Aru, in which case it would swap out her Braces of Archery, or on Regil, in which case it would be the Bracers of Heavy Hand, which is, I think, +2 damage on his offhand. Or maybe Darren, but I'm not sure he actually lands hits frequently enough for it to matter. Nice. Indoor pool. That's certainly not dragging down the property value. Alright, let's go catch up with Marhavok. He can't have gotten too far. Like an emergency supply stash. That's interesting. Marv. I was wondering where you got off to. What's up, buddy? The wounded Marhavok is shivering as if from a fever. He tries to take the human skull from the plinth in front of the Lady of the Sun statue. But his weakened grip spasms, and the skull rolls toward you, stopping at your feet. The warrior watches it with stricken eyes, muttering, "Key," before turning to the statue. "My lady, my love, forgive me. I failed you. I lost. Didn't even keep the key safe after you gave it to me. Come, protect our Wintersun. But if you can't, take me away. Take me to your castle in the clouds." Marhavok's prayer does not go unanswered. A shadow, unnaturally narrow and trembling, separates from the Lady of the Sun statue and floats above the floor. A delicate hand, or maybe a claw, reaches out and touches the slumped head of the dying warrior with a soft, almost tender gesture. And then you hear an airy, otherworldly voice directly in your mind. "Why are you mortals so fond of breaking other people's toys?" "So you're the rot that's festering in Wintersun. You're a despicable beast, and you don't deserve any other name. My kinsmen, my neighbors have suffered because of you. Death would be too light a punishment for you, scum." "So, you're the much-vaunted Lady of the Sun, huh? Gotta say, not quite what I had pictured." "That is what they call me here," replies the insect-like shadow. "But you may call me by another name. Jerribeth." "Okay, Jerry. So what exactly is your game here? What are you doing to these people?" "I merely planted a few ideas in their heads." Laughter, high and abrasive like a buzzing insect, reverberates in your mind. "It is elegant in its simplicity. I make all the people of Wintersun see demons as humans, elves, dwarves, and they see real mortals as demons. They live in a topsy-turvy world where the lands of the Worldwound are teeming with brave crusaders, and where Dresden was recently captured by an army of hideous monsters from the abyss. If your firebrand Queen Galfrey were to show up here, the people would take her for one of Discari's spawn, and try to slay her on the spot. And the children of Wintersun already have so much blood on their hands. Every weary traveler who happened to discover this mortal oasis in the midst of the scarred lands of the Worldwound, who rushed with brimming hope towards its walls, died at the hands of the clan. And they all fervently believed that they were fighting demons." "Okay, that's horrifying. And, what's with the other demons here?" "There is no place in all the Worldwound like my little Wintersun. I don't allow other demons to kill people in my domain. Instead, they come here to play. They shrug off their demon guise and pretend to be mortals. Even Lady Nocticula in the Midnight Isle does not offer such exotic amusements." You should find all this very familiar. You intuitively understand that these last words were not addressed to you. The demon has clearly allowed you to hear them as a courtesy. For you, too, are playing at being human. Isn't that so, Succubus? No, you have created a tawdry parody of what I am striving to be. You could have made them believe anything, performed any number of miracles for them. You could have made their dreams come true. But all you did was poison their minds against their fellow mortals. You may have the powers of a demon, but you have little when it comes to intellect. as befits an insect. Alright, I think I've heard just about enough. Gotta say, Jerry, you are admirably calm about this whole thing, even though I've so thoroughly broken your toys. What's to stop me from just finishing the job here and now, freeing the people of Wintersun and putting an end to another demonic threat in one fell swoop? Marhavok's shoulders convulse. He struggles in vain to stand and to shield the insect-like shadow from you. I will fly off to my sanctum faster than you can blink. Besides, are you ready to doom all of Wintersun to a horrible fate? Asks the sly voice in your head. You probably want to open the poor barbarian's eyes to the truth, but you can't do that without my help. Even if you do, by some miracle, find a way to do it, the children of Wintersun will have to live with the knowledge of what they've done all these years. They will recall every murdered crusader and traveler that they plunged their spears into, or burned on a ritual pyre. Many of them will not survive the truth you will inflict on them. The rest will be cut down by demons, for I am the only one protecting them from such a fate, even now. But I have a better solution. I will change the clan so that from this day forth, they will see true mortals and demons alike as human. I will make them believe that the Crusaders have won a final resounding victory, that peace now reigns in the World Wound, and that all the demons have been driven back to the abyss. Every last one. Wintersun will remain a peaceful oasis in the midst of chaos, neutral territory where neither crusaders nor demons will cross swords in battle. I will get to keep my wondrous domain, and your crusaders will never perish here again. What do you say to that, Commander? Oh, that is an interesting proposal, and one that I think Vex would... I could see him going either way on it. In fact, under normal circumstances, I think he might even accept it, because although there are clear risks, leaving the demons with a foothold this close to Dresden, I think he'd be intrigued by the idea of having like a neutral zone where he could just come and chat with demons and potentially make a demonic ally, because Jerry, although smug and obviously evil, hasn't really made any direct moves against him. That was Marhavok. I think what really becomes the deal breaker, though, is that we've got the Lady Kanomi effect in play here. Jerry clearly thinks she's in a superior bargaining position. She's holding up the lives of the folks in Wintersun as bargaining chips, and trying to use that to pressure and manipulate Vex into doing what she wants. And that, I think, is the sort of thing that Vex absolutely would not cotton to. Much like with Lady Kanomi, even if it is something that would arguably be a good idea, and this isn't, he will push back if he feels like he's being unduly pressured to accept it. So yeah, while I am curious, I think we've ultimately only got one real option here. Hard pass, Jerry. Lip the glamour and buzz off. Not gonna say it twice. Jerribeth hesitates. The demon's flat insectoid visage is difficult to read, but her quivering mouth betrays her extreme tension. At last, a phrase rings in your mind. All right, I'll do as you say. Outside, a clamor starts to swell. 1, 2, a dozen voices cry out in astonishment. Then, horror. No, not me. Please, rasps Marhavok, struggling to lift his head off the floor. Gathering his strength, he barks out more clearly. I don't need the truth. I don't want to lose you, my lady. I knew. A crazed smile warps the warrior's face. I guessed a long time ago that you weren't who you seemed to be. But you brought peace to my people. And me. And I kept your secret as best I could. I stamped out any suspicions, and the people who voiced them sometimes. I want to live in your light. I don't want to be without you. Arushale turns pale and covers her mouth with her hand. Her ruby eyes are filled with undisguised horror. No matter how much I may despise those who serve as sycophants for the demons, there is some twisted beauty in this. The fellow is brave enough to be honest about what he wants. I do not know many people who are capable of that. Darren, with some self-reflection. Unexpected? There are probably plenty like him here. People who guessed the truth but said nothing. Opportunists. These people have lived for too long under the influence of demons. They should all be isolated, subjected to strict re-education. And those whose loyalty remains suspect should be executed. They have enough blood on their hands to be sentenced to death 10 times over. You cannot read the emotions on the creature's horrifying face, half hidden by shadows. If it answers Marhavek, it does wordlessly, directly in his mind. After a moment of silence, you hear a voice in your head. Give him to me. Well, I mean, on the one hand, Marhavok did try to kill us, so I feel like Vex would want to kill him back. But on the other hand, he didn't put up much of a fight, and there's also the fact that I feel like handing him over to Jerry might be a fate worse than death. Have at him, Jerry. He's all yours. You two crazy kids have fun. You certainly deserve each other. Thank you, Commander. You are a curious creature, and it is just possible that we may see each other again. I'm returning to the Ivory Sanctum, the castle in the clouds, as they call it here. You have a key to my home, but will you find out how to use it? I will be expecting your visit. Jerribeth's shadow disappears into the portal, and her departure spells the end of an era in the life of Wintersun. Gizmera the Carver is standing cowering against the wall. She's gone? I can feel it. I feel like something's changed. I will tell the people what you did for us, Commander. Oh, good. Well, you do that. Well, I feel like we've done good work here. We've ruined a bunch of lives and just destroyed everything we've touched. A job well done. But hey, loot. Frost Embrace. +4 Icy Burst Frost Throwing Axe. Upon landing a hit against a new enemy, the enemy must pass a Fortitude save or become paralyzed for 2 rounds. Very nice. And Fixed Obsession. A +4 Keen Throwing Axe. Upon hit, all its further attacks until the end of the round deal 1 additional force damage, capping at 10. Not bad. I mean, a +4 Throwing Axe is definitely a step up for Waljif. The force damage effect is kind of mediocre, given that I don't think he'll ever really get more than 4 or 5 attacks a round. That's assuming we go all out on 2-weapon fighting and have haste on. But, again, definitely a step up from our current gear. No offense, Finian. So let's go ahead and get that stuff equipped. I guess we'll do the Frost Embrace in our primary hand. I feel like trying to proc the paralyzing effect is probably more important than the extra force damage. Yeah, I mean, even with 4 consecutive hits, that would only net +6 total force damage. And yeah, that's not even going into the whole extra frost damage thing. plus 1d6 frost damage per hit with Frost Embrace, and a chance to burst on crits. But, you know, feel free to weigh in the comments if you feel I have overlooked something. Okay, let's head back out and see how terrible everything is. Find out how Wintersun is set. Gizmera. Well, she has certainly wasted no time in a power grab. I respect that. That is definitely a very Vex thing to do. The blind carver tosses her head back and gives a slight bow. I recognize the sound of your footsteps, Commander. My wood-shaping skills are not what they were, but my hands remember what my eyes cannot see. Please accept this gift as thanks for listening to me and helping the children of Wintersun. I wanted to tell you, our clan has started reviving its old crafts. We have goods to sell. Would you like to take a look? Yeah, one moment. How are the folks having their entire lives turned inside out? We are not living. We're surviving. It's hard for us to understand and accept what happened. We need a few days to understand our lives anew. Fair enough. I'll check back in on you in, I don't know, a week or two? I'm sure we'll be passing by here again at some point. Show me what you got. Alright, let's see here. We've got an assortment of very niche weapons. Some potentially fun stuff, but only for very specific builds. None of which we happen to be using right now. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure we have anyone who could really take advantage of that, but I could definitely see that being much easier to use. Oh, and that. That is pricey, but I could actually see Vex using that. I'm going to add that to my notes. We might come back for that. And I guess that's it. So, yeah, maybe we'll come back for the boots later. That'll give the folks some time to settle before we check back in on them. And then Gizmera also gave us an amulet. The Wardmaster's Amulet. All ward abilities and spells grant +1 additional AC and become extended. Wards. Okay. Yeah. Like, Death Ward.
The waiting's never fun.
And no other spells I can think of. I think witches also have a ward ability, though we did not take it for Ember. Still, though, that is interesting. Automatic extension and +1 AC whenever we cast Death Ward, as long as we remember to equip that necklace first. I see you guys are coping well. It's better to know the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Yeah, that's very healthy. A very healthy outlook. How are we going to live without the Lady of the Sun? There's no one to protect us. No one. That is less healthy. Hardship and struggle build character. Wintersun will survive. It's got to. Alright, so 2 out of 3. Not bad. That's probably fine. Okay, so less collateral damage than I thought there might be. Still not great, obviously, but I think better than the alternative. For our purposes, at least. How about you? She was screaming, and I killed her. Yeah, I'm gonna stop you there. I gotta go. We've still got some time left on the clock, so let's see if we can maybe wrap things up on a slightly lighter note with some loot and XP. I will say, having run an Aeon out to the beginning of Act 4, I do know that the Aeon solution actually isn't much better. The only thing the Aeon does that's different than how we handled it... Oh, hello there. Ancient Blighted Quickwood. Seems simple enough. Yeah, the only difference with the Aeon is that they just end the Dwemer by snapping their fingers, instantly removing Jerribeth's bargaining chip. But otherwise it's largely the same. Hey, there we go. Tougher than the one we took down out front. But we do have surprise, so shouldn't be a problem.
Kneel before me.
Oh. Tainted Sap. Who's that on? I'm not seeing it. Maybe it ended already. Alright, so we'll have to be careful. These things apparently have stat reduction effects. Though, again, we have plentiful restoration spells, so shouldn't be a problem. Oh, wait, that was on Helpful, not Zorm. Okay, hold on. Oh, I see. Only triggers on bite attacks, and then inflicts ongoing stat damage. That
Missed me already.
That is going to be a problem. You'd think that would be a poison effect, which we're supposed to be immune to, but I guess it's actually a disease. There you go, buddy. Good as new. Ah, I see.
Yes?
We'll try to burn this one down without biting it. Yeah, we've got this.
Distract them for me.
Oh, never mind. With that much bark, we've got a bite.
This one's mine.
That's one.
Time to share your treasures.
Okay, okay. Ember. Hey, looks like we're fine after all. Man, we've just built so much of our strategy around biting things that it's hard to branch out when you run into something specifically designed to counter that. Nope. Don't mind us. Oh, I see. I see. That's the Sarkorian outcasts that Gesmera mentioned. The ones who were driven mad by their moments of realization about the horrors they had committed. The former hunters and warriors of Wintersun. Also, I just realized we gained a level. I didn't realize we were that close. But I guess we did just resolve a fairly prominent story quest, so that would net us a fairly hefty reward. Okay, I'll tell you what. Well, alright, we are just past time. I would like to do the level up sequence, but we've also got... Yeah, we've also got more rain incoming, and I really should have stopped recording the moment it started. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take a look at our options and see if I can find the time to round this episode out, but if not, we'll just leave it here and pick up with that next time. Either way, I will see you then. And we're back. But we do have to make this quick, so let's get right into it. First up, we've got Vex, who of course will continue digging ever deeper into Hunter. That brings him up to level 8, nets him a +1 on base attack, fortitude, and reflex, and grants him a second animal focus. More on that in a moment. For our new attribute point, we'll be bumping Vex's wisdom up to 18. That'll give him a slight bump on nature lore and perception, plus a much needed bump on will saves, as well as an extra 4th level spell slot. Not something he can use just yet, but it will be important in another couple of levels. For skills, not a lot to say here, though our current bonuses and gear do give us some pretty respectable totals in athletics, mobility, nature lore, and perception. I think we're ahead of the curve there, so we should continue seeing a lot of auto successes on those particular skill checks. For our new spell, there's a lot of potentially useful stuff on this list, but most of it is also stuff that our other dedicated casters have access to. So, after giving it some thought, I ended up honing in on Soothing Mud, which is a quick and easy way to heal up minor attribute damage. That should hopefully save Darren a fair chunk of spell slots in the long run, which might have otherwise gone towards lesser restoration. And that's it for Vex, except for the animal focus thing. So let's circle back to that real quick. Now, up until this point, it's been pretty underwhelming. We've had Animal Focus Tiger running thus far, which was a flat +2 enhancement bonus on Kaz's dexterity. As of this level, however, that bonus is now boosted to a +4, and it'll boost again to +6 once we hit level 19. Now that we can also layer another Animal Focus on top of that, the new bonus I'm selecting is Animal Focus Stag, which will grant Kaz an extra +10 movement, up to +20 at level 19. There are a few other options, but I think the only one I'd seriously consider is Animal Focus Mouse, which instead would grant improved evasion. That said, I will note that Kaz's class archetype actually grants him access to both evasion and improved evasion. He just won't actually get improved evasion until level 15. I'm just undecided on whether it's worth using that second slot to give it to him 3 levels earlier, after which we could then swap it off to something else. And since we're already on Kaz, his new level up is pretty straightforward. He nets a +1 on base attack at all of his saves, and will of course be dropping his new attribute point into Dex. Combined with the increased bonus from Animal Focus Tiger, that jumps him all the way up to a whopping 32. Not too shabby. Skills are skills, nothing really notable there. And that's pretty much it for Kaz. After that, we've got Regil, who will of course be sinking another level into Beast Rider, which is a must if we want Zorm to keep up with the rest of the party. That nets him a +1 to base attack and all of his saves, as well as a free combat feat. Very nice. I was a little torn on where to drop his attribute point, since it would be convenient to get him up to 15 strength for Dread Carnage, or 14 wisdom for the extra will save. But ultimately, I ended up dropping it into dexterity. One thing I might do in the future, though, is grab Destiny Beyond Birth as one of his mythic feats. That would also effectively raise his strength to 15. On skills, Regil finally finishes capping out his mobility, so from here on out we'll be bumping mobility, persuasion, and perception for the rest of his career. Granted, that won't give him a particularly high perception skill, but it is something that might still come in handy from time to time. But mostly as a night watchman when we're camping. For a free combat feat, we're grabbing Power Attack. A little odd given that he's dex-based, but it is a vital prereq if we want him to branch the rest of the way into Cornigan Smash and Dreadful Carnage. After that, we'll get him back into the more conventional 2-weapon fighting stuff. Maybe some mounted combat stuff as well. Jumping over to Zorm real quick, Zorm is just hitting level 11, since he's lagging slightly behind the rest of the party. That means he only gets +1 on base attack, and no bonuses to his saves. But he does get a new feat slot. Skills are pretty straightforward. His current effective intimidation score is +22, I believe, but I might be overlooking a modifier. And then for his new feat, we are grabbing Dazzling Display, which, again, serves as a vital prereq for Dread Carnage and Shattered Defenses. We'll be grabbing those at level 13 and 15 respectively. Then he too will return to more conventional combat feats. And that is it for Zorm. Next up, we've got Woljif, who continues being the most eldritch of scoundrels. That nets him +1 on base attack, an extra sneak attack die, and another slot in finesse training. Not bad at all. For his attribute point, I was tempted to dump a couple of points into intelligence, but I ended up deciding against it. That would be more important if he was a dedicated arcane blaster. But given that we've more settled into being an arcane buffer and mid-range support attacker, I think it's more important to drop his last few points into Dex, and then 1 into Con at level 20. Skills are skills, and he continues to just barely edge out Aru as the party rogue, which is fine. And we do still have Aru as a potential backup rogue, should Woljif decide to dip on us again. Sadly, we don't have throwing axes as an option for finesse training, even though they are listed as light weapons. So our new slot there doesn't really matter all that much. My original plan was to use this for short swords to give him more options for melee, more weapons to pair with his daggers, so I guess we'll just stick with that instead. We'll have some melee weapons in his off slots, and that might come in handy on those rare occasions when he gets pinned down. For spells, not really a big deal, given that we've got plenty of scroll merchants in Dresden. I grabbed Greater Animal Aspect and Stoneskin, mostly just for the sake of completion. That said, I think we've pretty much got everything I really wanted from the level 4 spell list anyway. And that is it for Woljif. Which brings us to our other dedicated caster, the Blistered Blaster, the lovely Lady Ember. She picks up her 12th level in Stigmatized Witch, which nets her a +1 on base attack, and all saves, a new Hex, and access to 6th level spells. Her extra attribute point will of course go right into Charisma, the only attribute that really matters on her, which will bump her up to a base score of 22 with her current headgear. Nothing all that notable on skills, though she does retain her party as the party's advisor on all things religious. Which, of course, given the circumstances, is somewhat fitting and completely hilarious. For her new Hex, there were actually a few good options here. For one thing, it turns out that she does have access to a Ward Hex, something we could theoretically pair with that new amulet we just got. but I ended up ruling that out since it would mean unequipping our current amulet, which grants us a bonus on all mind-affecting hexes. Another one I ended up considering was Ice Plant, which would grant her a modest +2 bonus to AC. Not a huge deal, but that is still an extra 10% chance to evade attacks that might otherwise obliterate her, and she has had some issues with that lately. Ultimately, though, I decided to hedge my bets on Restless Slumber instead. Normal Slumber has really ended up saving us some trouble in recent sessions, most notably during our showdown with Marhavok, and Restless Slumber makes it even better by adding on some token damage and an additional confusion effect. We can always grab Ice Plant when we hit 14. For our new spell, we automatically got Hellfire Ray from our ring, and there are no other decent fire spells on the current list. Given that we are also setting Ember up for Necromancy as her secondary school focus, I ended up bouncing back and forth between Banshee Blast and Phantasmal Putrefaction, both of which are bolster compatible. After giving it some thought, Phantasmal Putrefaction ended up winning out, primarily because I felt the sleep effect was slightly more in character for our version of Ember, as opposed to literally screaming people to death. And that is it for Ember. Don't mind the Slay Living listed on the screen there. That was from before I realized that Slay Living couldn't be bolstered. Would have been cool if it could, though. Then we've got our party healer, Darren. He will, of course, continue along the path of the reluctant Oracle, helpless to avoid his preordained fate. That nets him a +1 to base attack and all of his saves, plus access to 6th level spells. His floating attribute point goes into Charisma, bumping his base up to 23. We'll round that out at level 16, and then his final point will either go into Strength or Constitution. Skills are skills, and he retains his role as the party spokesperson and advisor on all worldly affairs. Again, much as with Ember, I find that both fitting and hilarious. For our new spells, Darren automatically gets Heal, which is a spell I would have grabbed anyway. It's fantastic and Mythic Alchemy compatible, so I'm looking forward to brewing up a stockpile of potions of heal once we finally get our hands on a Mythic Brewing Kit. For our second level 6 spell, I was slightly torn. My first thought was to go for Greater Dispel, since we do want to grab that eventually. But I think we've got a little while longer before we really need it. Instead, given that we're still struggling with mind-affecting spells and the like, I ended up grabbing Joyful Rapture. That one can be used to instantly end hostile mind effects on nearby allies, while simultaneously serving as another more efficient means of healing attribute damage on the entire party at once. And that is it for Darren. Jumping over to Helpful real quick, since she is now technically an extension of Darren. This one is much more straightforward. Helpful hits level 12, which gets her a +1 on base attack and all of her saves. Her attribute point goes into Strength, bumping her up to a total of 28, which will spike even higher when Darren finally grabs the Mythic Beast ability. Skills are pretty tame. Vex now beats both her and Zorm on Athletics, so she's really only contributing on Perception. And that's it for Helpful. Which, finally, brings us to Aru. Our Resident Ranger picks up another level of Espionage Expert, which nets her +1 on base attack and all of her saves. I mulled over her attribute point placement a little, but Dexterity ultimately won out. Bumping Strength would net her an extra point of damage, but that doesn't really matter if she can't actually hit her target, or gets killed before she can even loose a shot. So accuracy and defense took priority. I also looked into Charisma, but I'm honestly not sure what she would get out of that, aside from granting her 1 extra spell slot and a slight bump on certain skills. Speaking of which, not much to say on skills, since those were basically preset before we even got her. She does notably have the highest stealth and perception in the party, so she continues being an ideal scout and night watchman. She does love to watch. And that is it for Aru, which means we're more or less done with our level ups, at least for the main party. I'm not too worried about the rest of our companions just yet, but we'll poke at them later down the line as we pull them off the bench for various character-specific quests. That said, we have run slightly longer than I would have liked. We do need to wrap this up. But as usual, feel free to share your feedback in the comments below. I generally aim for a balance between quirky and effective on my character builds, but I have made several changes in the past, based on your suggestions. Anyway, I do need to go, so we'll hit the pause button for now. I'll update our hotbars and spellbooks off screen, give y'all some time to lob some feedback my way, and we will pick up here next time. See you then again. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official websites. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things, or maybe check out the Patreon or YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.